Hi, welcome to Tech Tuesday by Bitcube. My name is Alex, and today I'll be taking you through building a basic ChatGPT bot in native iOS using SwiftUI. By now, everyone knows what ChatGPT is, but for those who do not, it is a chatbot developed by OpenAI that processes natural language. It has many different applications. For example, programmers can give it a piece of code to try and find a pesky bug, or even ask for the code to be commented. The bot can remember what you have asked, so it tailors its responses to better suit all the information that you have given it. The app we will be building today is pretty basic. It is just a text input, a button, and a message view. Here's the message view. Here's a quick overview of everything we'll be using today. To get the API key, you'll have to go to openai.com, sign in, go to API references. Over here, you can click on personal, view API keys. Here is the key that I've made for this video. There's also a lot of information here about how our responses and our bodies will have to be structured. I will also be using Alamo Fire for the network requests. Let's actually add that to our project now. I've already outlined the basic project that we'll need with our objects, with our environment variables, our network request, our message bubble, and then our content view where most of our logic will happen. Let me just add Alamo Fire, so add packages, paste the link, add the package. Okay, so first let's go to our environment and add our constants that we'll need. So let's make it an enum called constants. We'll have the static let API key. Just a note, where you get the API key over here, you can't get it again. You'll only have a chance to copy it when you create it. So just make sure that you copy it as soon as you create it. I've got it saved somewhere else. Let me grab that quickly. We'll also need the base URL that we'll need to hit for our message request. You will also find that in the docs, but it is this. So we'll be using the completions version of ChatGPT. You can see in the playground here, we're using complete with text DaVinci 3. We'll also need to add text DaVinci 3 as a constant. That will be the model that we'll be using. Okay, those are all the constants we'll need. So now let's move over to the objects that we'll need. If you have a look through the API reference, you can see what we'll need. There are a few optional parameters. Basic request will just need a model and a prompt, so that's all we'll be giving it. So let's build that. Struct message body, which will take in a model, type string, and a prompt, also type string, if I can spell. There. The response body you can also find in the docs. That will be an ID and choices, all that's required. So that ID and this array of choices. So it's let ID of type string, and choices of type. We will make an object for that. Let's give it a name so long. Response choices. And that will have just text, I think, is all that we need from that. Yeah. All of these will have to be, or the message body that we are sending has to be encodable, and the responses have to be decodable. Okay, great. We'll still need an object for the actual message, but we'll handle that just now once we have built the message bubble. For now, let's add our network layer. We will be using Alarm of Fire for this. Let's call it network service. Okay, we'll just need one function in this to actually send a message. Which will take in, I think, just a message of type string. Okay. Let's see what we'll need to send the request. So af.request. We'll first need the base URL, so that's constants.base URL, which is this URL that we'll be hitting out for completions. Then we will need the method, which this is a post method. We'll need to make an object for the parameter for the body. We'll make one of those now. Actually, let's make it. Oh, we've already made that object, message body. Which takes in the model that we have. Constants.model, and then the prompt is the message that's been sent here. Okay, that is the parameter. It will need an encoding type. We'll use JSON. And then the headers is where we'll be inserting our API key. So let's make that. Oh, no, it's an array. It's not. If you go look in the documentation, you'll see that it's an authorization header. It's a bearer with the API key. Now API key is in constants. Okay, now we can add that here. Okay, now we have to think about how we'll be using this request. We'll be using a future. add that in now once I've got the outline right. So it's a weak reference to self. And then a promise. Okay, let's add that request in there. Future is part of combine. Move this inside there. This is we'll be using its response. Decodable. But we also need to make sure that we are getting it in the right type, in the response body. So we can specify that. Okay. Response in. This is our response from that call. Okay, now we need to abide by the promise. If it is successful, let result. We call promise. Success. I think that takes in the result. If it failed, that error. That is promise with dot failure. Not that kind of failure, that one. Just takes in the error. Okay. What's the problem here? Oh, we need to add the erase to any publisher on here. Okay. That is the only network request that we'll be using. I think I might have put this on the wrong thing. Need to make sure that self exists. Let's put in a guard self not equal to null else return. Not sure what the problem is here. Give me a second to figure it out. We haven't specified the return type of send message, and we're trying to return something here. Let's fix that. So we'll return our network response, any publisher, either be the response body or an error. Okay, that should be fine now. Awesome. Next, let's make the object that we'll need to make the message bubble. Okay. So that is a message object. It It will have an ID so that we can display it correctly in our list. It will have a type that we'll define now. It will have text that it uses to display. And it will have date created so it can order it properly. Okay, let's make an enum for that type, because we want to be able to display differently if it is the user or the bot. So let's make that message type. We'll have user and bot. Pretty simple. Okay, next we can go to the message bubble where we can actually see some output. So let's make the struct message bubble, which is a view. Okay, it will take in that message object that we created. And then we'll have an init. This isn't 100% necessary, but it's easier to debug. Let's call it message. Not message body, message object. And then we'll set our message to the one that was passed down. Okay. For body, this is where we actually get to display something. Turn some view. Okay. Now, what will we need? We'll need an image and some text. Pretty simple. So let's make that an H stack. Let's give it a spacer at the top. Some text. With the message object. Just its text. And then an image. We'll just use a system image because I don't feel like downloading one. System name, pretty sure. Yeah. What have we got available? Let me go see what's available quickly. This one will work for us. Okay. We want to keep that pretty small, so let's make it resizable. Make its aspect ratio fit. Yeah. And give it a frame. Lot size, width and height. Let me just type it out. 30 should be fine. Okay. This is, let's define our user text. Making this an if. So we check if its type is user. So it's the message that the user sent. We'll have separate styling for the bot. Let's give this padding so that it doesn't go up against the border. Let's make that 10. Give it a background color. Blue, maybe. Give it text color. That is foreground color. And then give it padding, because we want user text to go to the right and bot text to go to the left. Let's use edge insert. Top 0. Leading. Also 0. Bottom will also have 0. This is the user, so we'll have it trailing. Make that 10. Okay, that should display pretty nicely now. What's the problem? Oh. Okay, we need our else branch for if the message bubble is for the bot. It will be pretty similar to this. So let's copy that and update it. The image will be first. Same size, same image. We'll give that a gray background. Let's keep text white and make the leading edge 10 and take the trailing to 0. Just give the H stack some padding. Default padding should be fine for this, and the spacer should come after. Okay, now what's this error? Oh, my bad. I forgot to import SwiftUI. That would have been helpful. Let me build a preview on the screen so we can see that it actually displays properly. We'll need a struct message bubble underscore preview. Use this previews provider. Okay. We'll need to display multiple of these. That's fine, we'll get to those. So let's put it in a lazy VStack. We'll need to create a list to display. Just an array of message objects. Let's get some of that, yeah. Leave the ID empty because it's just a static list. It should display fine. Let's make the first one a user. String, we can just say hi, I would leave it as string. And date created, we'll make that now. Let's copy that and change it to bot. Let's make it longer. This is longer so that it takes up more space. Okay. Then in our lazy V stack, what's the problem here? Does it just need to be more specific? Why is that? Oh, it's a list. Okay. Now we will have a for each to display all those items. For each message list dot indices. The ID will use self. That should be fine. Index in. Yeah, now we can make a message bubble. And our message will be the message list at the index. I think this needs a size to display correctly. Fixed size. Just make it pretty big. Okay, looks like we're missing our date created label. It's pretty simple to add. This is the bulk of our work done. We just have to build the actual connection to show this list, but if this displays right, we can move on to the content view next. I think we just need to give that some rounding, then we'll be happy. Yeah, let's just give the text some corner radius. I think before the padding. Let's also make it 10. Okay, awesome. This plays pretty well. Let's move on to the content view. Okay, we won't be using what they gave us. We will have a scroll view with a lazy V stack. We'll need our message list, state, this is just our list that has all the messages, both the ones we typed and the responses from ChatGPT. We'll need to store them here so that we can display them. There'll be message object, and we'll need to visualize it. Should be fine. We'll also need the input for our text field. need our network object to send the message. So let me, yeah, it should be fine. Okay, here we can display it similar to the preview. We can say for each in the message list, the ID will be self. And message bubble. Message will be just a message. Should be good. And now we'll need an H stack to display our text input and our button. Let me just minimize this. We don't really need. We won't be using a preview here. Message object needs conform to hashable. Okay. Content view. Okay, outside of my scroll view, I'll have an H stack with a text field. Just the generic one is fine for us. Our placeholder text will be enter a message. It also needs a text to bind to. We've made that over there. That one. When enter is clicked in the text field, it will call the onCommit of it, so we need to add that. OnCommit, we will call send message, which we still need to define. Let's do that now. Outside the, well, still inside the struct. Outside the body, we can have func send message. We won't have to pass the message down to it. Since these are in the same struct, it should have access to that input. We'll make the message using the message object. Okay, the ID, just give it a UID, UUID. The type, if it's from over here on onCommit, it will be a user. The text is the input. And date created, we can say is now. This just gets the current date. Then we'll need to add this message to our list. Append new message. Awesome. And then we call network service dot send message using our input, making it using the message object just for us to display it here. All that our network service needs is the input. We will then subscribe to that using sync. Rather type it myself. So completion. This is where our errors will come through. I'll leave that in to do. Hopefully we don't break anything. Then received value. should be when everything went well. Response body, we can just rename to response. We'll also have to make another message object here and add it to our list. Be pretty similar to this. Let's just copy that. AI. Same UID. Oh, it needs to be the actual string value. Type here will be bot. The text will be from the response. That is not the ID, it will be choices. Oh, that's an array. We'll need to grab one of the values there. Let's put in a guard to get that. Let's just take the first one for now. Fortunately, I'll just be able to display one at a time. Response dot choices dot first dot text. If it doesn't get anything, it can just return. We'll just have to see how this displays. We might have to edit it a bit. Now I can just use that first choice. Should be good. I need to add this to our list. Oh, we need to have a cancelables variable still. Spell this. Let me get the type first, I can steal that. Oh, it's from combine. So just for us to store our values. And then after we call send message, we want to clear the input. Just empty text. I need to still finish building the button. What's wrong here? I need to call that. Okay, HStack will have the text field and a button. Okay, let's have a button. It calls send message. And its label can be just some text. Submit or enter. Give it a foreground color. Make that white. Some padding, just looks better. Background color. Let's make this one red. Normally don't like using red, but why not? And also a corner radius, because otherwise we just have squares. Okay. Looks pretty good. Let's just give our scroll view some padding. or I just add some padding. This should be everything that we need. Let's see how our bot works. Here's our test app and our other one we just built. So here's the red button. We can ask it for actually anything. Who is the USA president? Should give us the correct answer. Okay, awesome. Displays pretty well. Just some extra space there, but that's pretty easy to edit out. Unfortunately, the model that we are using, it won't really remember what you have asked it. So if I ask it who was before him, it might give me a completely different answer. Yeah. So that it is kind of on the right line, but it's not 100% accurate. But that's the basics of how to add a ChatGPT bot in native iOS. Pretty simple. There's still a lot you can do to improve this app. This is just using completions on one of the cheaper token-wise models. But you can also add images if you use a different model, or there's so much more you can do. But yeah, that's all from me today. Thanks for taking the time to watch this. Bye.